Ready. Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us today to discuss the child care tax credit. I'm sorry, the child tax credit, separate. Frankly, I could not be more proud of the role that we have played in getting this across the finish line and signed into law. It is an enormous win for families across our Commonwealth. In our community alone, 71.8% of children will gain from the expanded and improved child tax credit, which would allocate $250 per month per child and $300 per month for every young child. That translates to an average benefit of $2,800 for 40,300 households, and it will lift over 8,800 children out of poverty in our community alone, including 4,200 children out of deep poverty. This is the kind of legislation that I know will have direct impact on Pennsylvanian families. And I think back to my time as a mother on active duty in the Air Force, where I wasn't able to afford the childcare near the base on which I was stationed. My story is not unique, and many working parents struggle to balance building a family and building a career. So my hope is that our child tax credit will help ease that burden and make that balance slightly more achievable for all of us. So today, I'm grateful to be joined by a panel of our local experts who will be speaking about just how important this child tax credit is and what kind of impact it will have on our families here in Chester and Berks County. Joining me today, Loraine, Disciullo, is that correct?
Very good, thank
Excellent.
you.
Senior Association Director of Education and Youth Development at Brandywine Valley YMCA. Michelle Legaspi Sanchez, the Executive Director at the Fund for Women and Girls, and Elyssa Schmier, is that correct? Excellent. The Vice President of Government Relations and National Budget at MomsRising Together and MomsRising Education Fund. Thank you, each and every one of you ladies, for being here today. And with that, I'd like to hand it over to our panelists to provide a little bit of background on each of their organizations. And so if it's all right, I'll start with Loraine to go ahead and give us a little understanding of where you're working and where you come from.
Great, thank you so much, Chrissy, and thank you everyone else. And I'm excited to be part of this panel. I appreciate it. Thank you for introducing me. As many of you may know, the YMCA of Greater Brandywine is a staple of the Chester County community for over 125 years, touching the lives of thousands of children and families by strengthening the foundation of our community through youth development. We are a nonprofit association serving our community's children as they progress through their development stages of their lives. We are proud to say we're the largest provider of childcare in Chester County with 8 branches and 12 on-site school-age programs, providing approximately programs to 1,000 children throughout Chester County from 6 weeks to school age. In addition, our 2021 summer camps are providing 3,000 children a positive, fun, and safe experience to support their social and emotional development. Research shows that people that care for a child have a significant impact on the child's growth and development, and that children that are enrolled in a quality child care center are greatly prepared for their school careers and life expectations. Our group of educators and counselors are committed to cognitive development, social emotional learning, safety, and overall well-being of the children in their programs. The entire YMCA community agrees on our mission of being for all children and serving a diverse population where these children can learn, grow, and thrive. The YMCA continues to provide childcare service for the growing number of working families, regardless of economic status. We realize that nearly 70% of our nation's children have their parents in the workforce, and close to 16 million of these children spend time in the care of someone other than the parents, like our centers. Parents that seek to have their children enrolled in a quality child care program definitely feel less stressed as they search either for employment or return to the workforce. This enhanced credit will support these families as they determine whether to stay home or to actively seek an employment. Our early learner centers are, of course, faced with challenges, including rising teacher salaries, insurance costs, building repairs, supplies, and lower enrollment due to COVID. The YMCA's goal is to help our families navigate the varying opportunities to have a higher quality and affordable child care program. This tax credit will allow our Chester County community the opportunity to enroll their children in quality programming where they can have peace of mind that their child is safe and secure. Due to childcare costs and flexible hours, we, along with other providers, have definitely seen lower enrollment due to COVID. By providing this credit, we feel that our community will continue to thrive as our children get the development necessary and our parents will get back to work. We feel fortunate to be part of this platform. We thank you for allowing us to be part of this and to provide the opportunity to form our community of what resources are available to them and how we can impact their understanding of this credit and its use to support their child care needs. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Loraine. Really appreciate your overview of your organization. Again, the Senior Association Director of Education and Youth Development at the Brandywine Valley YMCA. And next over to Michelle, who's the Executive Director at the Fund for Women and Girls. Hi, Michelle. Thanks for joining us today.
Hi, Chrissy. Thanks so much for having me. And hello to Loraine and Elyssa. I'm glad to be here with you today. So the Fund for Women and Girls is actually celebrating our 25th anniversary this year. We've been in Chester County working to ensure that women and girls have the resources and opportunities to thrive, again, here in our community for a quarter of a century. And we've been accomplishing our purpose through philanthropy as well as education and advocacy. So in terms of philanthropy, in the last 25 years, we have awarded over $3.8 million in grants to 82 organizations working throughout Chester County to create healthy and vibrant futures for women and girls. So certainly the YMCA has been one of our grantees over the years. And this year, we awarded over $225,000 through a variety of community-driven grant-making programs that are responsive to the needs of local women and girls. The fund also runs girls leadership programs, such as the Girls Advisory Board and Girl Gov Chester County, which teaches and equips young women to step up as informed, empathetic, and confident leaders both now and in their future. And of course, we use data and our position as a convener to educate and bring together the community, elected officials like you, Chrissy, nonprofits, and other stakeholders on what unique challenges women and girls are facing and how we can work together to find lasting solutions. So, of course, over the last year and prior, of course, too, there's been so much going on, and certainly, again, dialogues like this has been really important to come together to talk about these solutions. So, thank you again for allowing me to be part of this conversation.
You're welcome, and thanks for joining us again, Michelle. And last but not least, Elyssa, who's the Vice President of Government Relations and National Budget at MomsRising Together and MomsRising Education Fund. Thank you so much for joining us. Tell us a little bit about you and your organization.
Yes, thank you so much for including us in this important conversation. So MomsRising is a national organization. We have over 1 million members around the country, including 20,000 just in Pennsylvania alone throughout the state. And we do on the ground and on online organizing. And our main goal is to create economic stability and decrease discrimination for moms, women, and children. And I think, as we all know, that challenge, both of those have been a real challenge, especially in the last year and a half with the pandemic. But we also know that moms have been struggling to find quality, affordable childcare for decades now. So we're really excited to be part of this conversation. We know that the child tax credit will be central to helping struggling moms afford childcare, but also rethinking our tax code to make it more equitable, since at best women, and especially women of color, have traditionally been left out of a lot of the policies for our tax code, and at worst have been greatly harmed by it. So we're really excited about today, Child Tax Credit Awareness Day, and what's about to come for so many of our struggling families in the district.
Thank you, Elyssa, very much for that introductory remarks. And I'm very, very thankful to have all of you here for this conversation. I have a couple of questions for each of you, but I really would like this to be an organic kind of conversation. And if for whatever reason I direct one of these questions to one of you and another has some input or insight, I would welcome that opportunity to have a dialogue as well. And so my first question is for Loraine. And I'm really grateful. I know I've shared with you in the past that my own kids went to the YMCA for both childcare and preschool when I first moved into this community when my girls were really little. And I'm really indebted to you all for taking care of them so well. And they are remarkable adults now. And for you, Loraine, I was wondering, as the largest provider of childcare in our district, how would this expanded child tax credit help support the childcare industry and support our economic recovery?
Well, thank you for asking that, Christy. One of the things, how it can help and with our economic recovery is because right now, many of the schools and centers, the preschools, the early learning centers are not fully enrolled, and we have taken, definitely, lower enrollment between, I think most of the places I've spoken to and do my research is between 50 and 70% enrollment. And so enrollment has definitely been down. So that's one thing, is that, giving this opportunity, we can welcome new families into our community, welcome them and give them the same experience that you've had for your children, and bring them into, and so that can help them and get them back to work. Giving them the opportunity to seek employment first, because I know this can help, if you, while you're searching for employment, after COVID, as well as for them when they are employed. So that can help us, but it can also help the centers within Chester County to be able to become, higher occupancy, and then give these opportunity and serve more children and serve them better in the community, as well as their parents.
Thank you, Loraine. Would any other folks like to comment on our hope for this child tax credit and what it may do to influence the childcare industry in our area?
Well, I think it's also just a good reminder that so many child care workers are also parents, and many of them, don't make a livable wage. It's a pretty low wage job. And so they also will be beneficiaries of the child tax credit. And I think that will, help boost them as well. And in terms of economic recovery, what we hear from so many of our moms in the district is they're going to go right back out and spend it in their local economy, whether it's for childcare costs, or paying for groceries, or, asthma medicine for their kid, or new shoes, since the kids grow so quickly out of those shoes. So it's really a win-win across the board for that.
No, I agree. I agree. So my next question is for Michelle. The Fund for Women and Girls researches and publishes a blueprint report every few years, which I've had the privilege to look at, and it describes the needs of women and girls in Chester County. So based on the most recent data that you collected, it seems as though it underscores the long-term effects of the economic recession on health and on safety, financial security of both women and girls. If we focus on the financial security portion, how do you think the child tax credit will directly help women and families gain upward economic mobility right here in Chester County?
Yes, thank you for bringing up our blueprint report, because it's a signature piece that we're really proud of. We've been working with Westchester University since 2005 to really bring together this data and lift it up and look at how women and girls are faring at the local, state, and national level. If you know Chester County, you know that it's very easy to kind of just understand it at a surface level of having a reputation of such idyllic environment to raise a family, but really beneath the surface, there's another story. And so that's really what the blueprint tells. From our last blueprint, we know that, first of all, that the percentage of families who are relying on moms to be breadwinners has been steadily increasing through the decades. And that's not just here in Chester County, but that's the state and the national level. So as you see more women working, and as you see them being more relied upon as breadwinners, what we're not seeing is, or what we are seeing is a lag in the infrastructure that really accounts for the needs of workers with family caregiving responsibilities, such as paid leave or affordable childcare. So in Pennsylvania, childcare costs exceeds 40% of the median annual income of single moms. And we also know that for here in Chester County, even a two-parent household with 2 children, that family needs to be earning nearly $95,000 just to meet the self-sufficiency standard. So many families, particularly Black and brown families in your district, aren't there. So, and we know that COVID has only made the situation more difficult, with women leaving the workforce at 4 times the rate of men last year. And as Chrissy, I know that you're always one to pull from your own lived experiences, just even in this conversation, having shared. So I have to say that as a mom, I know firsthand how critical quality childcare is. My youngest 3 are triplet 5-year-olds now. And when we had the news that we were going to welcome them soon enough, I'll be honest that moment was very much clouded by the stress and the worry about how are we going to provide for them, and am I going to have to put my career on hold? Like, those were real questions that clouded a very joyful moment. And my husband and I are fortunate enough to have access to support and resources to make it work. But you all know that there are many Chester County families that can't say the same. And they're really forced to make difficult trade-offs between ensuring their children's safety and them being cared for, and really being able to financially provide for their families and advance their career. And so that's why this child tax credit is such a critical resource. It could really make all the difference in what options are available to working moms and family when it comes to childcare and supporting their children's development.
Yeah, and Michelle, those girls are such cuties, and I can't wait to see them again in the real world. I'm sure they've gotten a lot bigger, and I really appreciate you sharing your personal experience too. Chester County and Berks, frankly, too, part of the 6th Congressional District, does have that veneer of being perfection. But if you do scratch the surface, you do know that even before COVID, we really struggled with a lot of these issues of making sure that our families and communities were safe and cared for and provided for. And during COVID, we definitely see and saw just how vulnerable we are, and how fragile our ecosystem and our web of connectivity is. I spent some time volunteering at a variety of different food banks and farms, et cetera, and was really struck by, as you mentioned, in a place of such affluence, how difficult this time was for so many families. So we just need to make sure that we're keeping our eyes and ears open, because, as you mentioned, these may be some of the very people who are caring for our kids who are also benefiting from this opportunity through the child tax credit. Before I move on to my question, does anybody else have anything to add to that conversation?
Well, I just want to say I appreciate what both of your organizations do, and Michelle, I've been a part of your organization and learned from you all on what Chester County's makeup truly is. We think, as Christy has just said, it seems like it's just all golden, but it's not. And I learned a lot from you all, and I think supporting and educating us is going to truly make a difference on the decisions that we do have to make, and to support our clients when they come into a school, what options are for them. And that's something I always found as something I needed to make sure that I understood, so I can educate, what, the credit's going to be really great for them, but what other opportunities are for them to be able to have their child in a school that they feel comfortable and safe and secure, so they can go and start their day and be, do, whatever their job might be, but they feel comfortable with that. So your organizations definitely have supported in educating us in the industry to be able to then in turn support all clients. So thank you for that.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. And my other question is for Elyssa, again at MomsRising. One of MomsRising's primary advocacy campaigns is to push policymakers to prioritize and fix America's broken childcare system. How would a permanently expanded child tax credit, when combined with other investments directly into the system, help assist in converting our childcare system into a more affordable, quality, and accessible one? Because before you answer that question, reminder that this tax credit is actually not permanent, and that's why we're probing into what would be the impact of it being permanent.
Yes, and I think that's a really important point, because as a lot of parents around the country and around the district are starting to learn kind of what this actually is and start to get the monthly payments, we also want to remind them that we need their voices to speak out, because this is not permanent yet. It's only good for the next year. And I think your question's a really great one. We're hearing from moms across Chester County and across the country on how excited they are for the new expanded child tax credit. And having those payments come monthly, which is a new piece of this, is incredibly helpful because, as you know, most bills don't come once a year, but they come monthly. So, bills like rent and heating bills, and especially childcare payments, people either pay weekly or monthly for the most part. And one way we are hearing that some parents might be using the child's tax credits to offset the cost of childcare, both, all year round, but also in those summer months when school is out. I often talk about the YMCA camps, how wonderful they are because they create, a place for people to socialize and kids to have enrichment programs and stuff. But it's also a really important piece of childcare during the summer months, so parents can continue to work when school is out. But the median weekly cost of childcare in Pennsylvania is around $290 per child. So that's well over $1,000 a month. And for most families in the state, it constitutes one of the biggest expenses that they have. So infant care for one child would take up around 17.5% of a median family's income in Pennsylvania. And so while the child tax credit won't necessarily cover the full cost of childcare in many cases, especially if you have multiple children or triplets, as we've heard, it could help make it more affordable. But you did mention the need for kind of direct investments as well. So, we like to remind people that no tax credit is a replacement for direct federal investments in childcare that addresses quality, affordability, and access. We know that childcare is out of reach for so many low-wage workers, and even families that are middle income tell us all the time how much the cost of childcare is forcing them to stretch their household budget and make, unfortunate and difficult decisions about, their savings, paying for, bills that they have, credit card debt, that type of thing. And yet, as I had mentioned earlier, childcare workers also struggle to get by. Nationally, childcare workers' families are more than twice as likely to live in poverty as other workers' families. And in Pennsylvania, a childcare worker will have to spend 55% of her own earnings to put her own child in infant care. And this is also a job that oftentimes done by women of color, is without health care or paid leave or other benefits like paid sick days. So that's why we're asking for the recovery package that is moving through Congress to include the permanent expansion of the child tax credit. So all those great monthly payments and the increased amount, and in particular making it fully refundable, which means that lowest income families, people who make zero to little income each year, still have access to the child tax credit. But we also want to see a direct investment in childcare of at least $700 billion. And I think that type of combination of those types of programs and that type of policy is really what will help us to tackle the childcare problem or crisis that we're seeing in this country. We know that it existed before COVID, and there was cracks in the system, and now it's like there's craters basically. So it's not enough to kind of just like paint over it a little bit and fix it. We really need to move it into the next direction. So our families don't have to, and the workers don't have to go through that again, when there's another sort of crisis. And it's the only way we're really going to get women fully back to work and contributing to our economy.
All amazing and important points. Many people say that what's happening right now is more of a she-cession than a recession, in the sense that so many women have been making very difficult choices, in some cases have no choice but to not be part of the workforce right now for all kinds of different reasons. And some of these child tax credits that we're talking about will be helpful. And as you mentioned, some of the workers who are in our child care centers are those that would be affected and helped, but also people who are working in our hospital systems, who are working with our elder community. Again, these are people who are helping our parents or even us if we are older members of the community. to be able to come to work every day. It's estimated that it will take a lot longer for women to come back into the workforce because of the pandemic than it would for men. So some of our recovery efforts really are focused not just around things like the child tax credit, but as you mentioned, around shoring up the industry itself to make sure that we have a more inclusive recovery and an inclusive return of the economy that allows everybody to be able to serve in whatever capacity they'd like to in the workforce. With that, I think we're nearly out of time. I really do want to thank you guys, thank Loraine and Michelle and Elyssa for being here today to have these conversations. They are really important conversations. And as Elyssa mentioned, it's really important that those who are participating and listening in on these conversations who may be beneficiaries of some of this work that's happening within a narrow window of time, you know, the child tax credit as an example will expire shortly. If you find that helpful, please do advocate for yourself and for your community by giving your representatives a call or talking to people about what it is that happened, why their check is bigger, you know, every single month. It's helpful to make sure that you understand where that's coming from. And for my part, I'll continue to work in Congress to make sure that the credit is permanent. I do believe that it will greatly help our economy by growing our middle class and by investing in a working class. I think that we are investing in American families. So I do want to say thank you once again, ladies, for joining me. I look forward to seeing you all in the real world, and please continue to stay safe.
Thank you so
Thank you
much.
so
You're
much.
welcome.
Thank you,
Bye-bye,
everyone.
guys.
Thank you very much.
Take care.